Uh-oh.
Don't worry, leave it to me.
No.
Help me! Help me!
The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Finally doing my review for this game. Look, I've been putting this review off for like 3-4 months.
He needs some milk.
I'm sorry, y'all. Look, if y'all make it to the end of the video, I'll tell y'all why this review took so freaking long. But I can tell y'all one of the reasons right now. It's a long, arduous game, but it's a pretty good game. Some things about it's not so good, but we about to jump right into it. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, follow me on social media, all of that shit. Let's get into it. Where do we even begin with this game? It's a very long freaking game, and there's a lot of stuff to cover in the game. I don't really have the patience to go through each and every single thing, and on top of that, edit a video that explains every single thing. It might take literal hours, probably days to complete editing for it, and probably over an hour, well over an hour for y'all to even watch and digest a video like that. I want something a little shorter, so I'm gonna go over the things that I think are the most pertinent to the game.
I'm going in!
This is kind of a testament to the sheer verbosity of the game.
Its weight. Its girth.
It's pretty freaking humongous with damn near endless things to do.
Dragon tales.
Let's jump right into the story. So Ganondorf returns and he immediately wreaks havoc on everyone and everything in his path. Pretty much Hyrule is effed. Apparently the seal has been broken. And instead of the Triforce being one of the driving factors, for whatever reason, I don't think they even mention it in this game, not even a single time, but instead they talk about the special stones which grant godlike power and abilities to all who hold it. And of course, as Ganondorf gets a hold of one of these, he becomes damn near omnipotent. Now, we don't know where these stones, where the power necessarily sources from. Even upon completion of the game, they didn't really say, but it is heavily implied that the source is related to aliens. Okay. At least it's not executed too poorly, but it's not executed that well either. It's literally the same song and dance as Breath of the Wild, where they drip feed you memories that you have to locate. Definitely not my preferred method of storytelling. They should really ensure that there's something interesting happening during the game, rather than a bunch of completely optional flashback sequences. Now, the flashbacks were good. They were much better than Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom was on point with the flashbacks. However, I just don't prefer the story being told like that. And they already pulled this trick not only once, but twice. Alright. Now don't click off the video too fast all at once after hearing this, but I do think that the graphics in the game were disappointing. I know, shocker! How dare you, I'm clutching my pearls! If I had pearls, I don't even wear chains, but look, the graphics in this game are not that good. The art style is excellent, okay? Nintendo always got good art style. Come on, it's Nintendo, but I do think graphics matter. And Nintendo is like literally a whole generation behind on graphics. I can't remember. I feel like Nintendo used to be like ahead on this. Like, I think when PS3 came out, they just started just falling behind. They started just lacking, you know, and they just never caught up. Now, Nintendo knows how to make money, which technically is their objective. So they're doing good financially. But they just suck ass when it comes to graphics. Why is Super Mario Galaxy's graphics better than Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Mario Galaxy came out like years earlier. This has like the exact same graphical fidelity, at least to me. It appears to have the exact same graphical fidelity as Breath of the Wild. A game that I believe, didn't like the first one come out on the Wii U as well? I believe it did. It came out on the Wii U and Switch. So these graphics are like these graphics are like, how long ago did Switch come out? Like 6 years ago? These graphics are like the damn same. Y'all tripping, Nintendo. Y'all tripping for that. Look, I'm not on the game. I'm just saying, like, I'm kind of on Nintendo a little bit. They need to go ahead and fix it. They need to, like, step it up a little bit. I guess we're going to be waiting until Metroid Prime 4 before the graphics step it up. I don't know. So let's talk about characters. Besides Ganondorf, you got some other supporting characters. I don't remember all their names, but I do remember some of them. And in general, there's just kind of a lot of new NPCs in this game. So of course you got Master Koga, if you remember him from the first game. He's the leader of the Yiga clan, and he returns and is up to no good as usual. He's crazy, and he's a menace, and he's not threatening, like not even like a little bit, but he's a fun character. I like him. The main thing I was impressed by is the abilities that you get from your supporting characters though. The ones that you get after you complete dungeons, because they offer way more utility than they did in Breath of the Wild. Especially Tulin's flight ability or glide ability or whatever the heck it is. It kind of gives you like a boost through the air, and it's a freaking good boost. So you pretty much, I feel like, need this to really progress to all the little sky islands that I'll talk about later. And generally, all the other abilities are pretty freaking good. As for the increase in the NPC count, I will say that it doesn't add that much to the game, because Nintendo is still refusing to add voice dialogue for anything besides main cutscenes or special cutscenes and things like that. Honestly, I'm a little confused at this point. I just don't really get it. What is holding Nintendo up from making cutscenes with more voice acting in the games, especially y'all's main games? Like, literal PS2 games are fully voice acted. Tears of the Kingdom is just not. It's like, oh, here's all the memories that are optional, and they got voice acted. But literally, the main story stuff, a lot of it don't have no voice acting. I'm like, I mean, it ain't a deal breaker or anything, but Nintendo is definitely behind on the times. I don't know if it's tradition, budget, laziness, or a combination of all, but they just need to step it up. In the next Zelda game, I want to see more in that department. If we're gonna have like a bajillion characters, have them say something, because sometimes I don't be wanting to read and I literally will fall asleep. Now, I didn't fall asleep playing this game because it's just not a boring game, but other games, especially when they got all this text on the screen, I just start getting sleepy, and I'm like, I can get sleepy if they're saying stuff too. So I'm not saying that that is just this huge defining factor. But in modern times, I mean, this to me is like a AAA title. It's like supposed to be just a grand slam, all or nothing. You put everything into it. So that's something that I want to see. Like, stop playing it safe. They already got a voice for Ganon, for Zelda, and a bunch of other characters. So have them voice more than 2 freaking lines. Like, they don't even be in the studio that long. I did a lot of research about voice acting, talked to voice actors, know voice actors in real life. It ain't that dang hard, man. So, I need y'all to step it up a little bit. Alright, one more area of the game we're going to talk about before we jump into the gameplay, which is pretty much the main core section of this video. So if you haven't made it there, stay tuned. We're going to get to it. But let's talk about the soundtrack real quick. It's definitely an improvement over the last game, though it doesn't match up to some of the greater titles in this category, like Majora's Mask or my personal favorite, Ocarina of Time. It is definitely improved over the first one, especially the boss themes. Boss themes are fire.
We need to find a way to hurt it. Coming from below again. Leave it to me. Link.
And the last theme, especially, this review has full spoilers, by the way, so if you don't want that for some reason, literally months after the game's released, go ahead, cut it off here. But yes, final boss, the soundtrack from the final boss, like there's several different phases. All of them are good. All of them fire. Literally started listening to them just today, just randomly while I was preparing this review. And trust me, they're good. It's probably playing in the background right now. Man, gameplay, whew, Lord, this is gonna be a long section. There are a lot of additions to the game, and some things haven't changed at all. So, all the abilities given by the Sheikah Slate in the previous game are gone, and you get new abilities. So the most noteworthy one is the ability to build things. So you can put together a lot of stuff using these ancient items called Zonai devices, or you can use Zonai devices, and you get capsules that have Zonai devices and so forth. There's various different ways to do it, but to make a long story short, you can build all sorts of stuff. You can literally build like small boats, airplanes. I mean, you can build freaking houses. You can just build all kinds of stuff. Some people even built like giant freaking Megazords. For this mechanic alone, the game's already somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. Like, if you just literally remove everything else from the game, only have the building in the big open world, it would already be like a pretty damn high scored game. But I gotta put everything together and see how it measures up. And I'm not gonna spoil the exact score for y'all until you get to the end. And joke's on you, because you don't know the exact timestamp for when the score is. So anybody who comments the score, deleted. Just when you start to get fatigued with the amount of building that you gotta do in the game, they also have an auto build feature that essentially just builds everything for you faster.
Is this easy mode?
So there's 3 separate world maps in the game, the first being in the sky, the second on the mainland, and that's where the majority of the action takes place. Lastly, you have the hellish depths, which I seriously mean that are hell to explore, and it's like it's underground, so I feel like that was intentional. But that area, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sucks. I didn't like the depths that much because it felt as though maybe they had a little bit more development time and they just wanted to add something else. Like somebody said, I don't know, I feel like this isn't enough to release as a sequel. Somebody said, well, why don't we add a whole new world map or something? So they just did something that they could do kind of fast, because I do feel like this was hastily thrown together. That's my honest opinion. You have to go through the entire place, which is pitch black, and it's literally a full world map. I'm not kidding. It's basically the same world map as above, except you're underground and everything is like flipped upside down, and there's a bunch of gloom everywhere. Which, if I hadn't told you yet, the gloom essentially is something where if you touch it for long enough, it'll take away one of your hearts permanently until you either return to the surface or find one of the light roots. If you find a light root tree, then you can see more of the world map actually fully lit up within the depths. And there's a bunch of freaking light root trees, so you're gonna be down there for a long time. It took me like hours, a couple days of literally non-stop specifically navigating through the depths just so I could find every single light route. It wasn't a good experience. It was just a pain. It was dark. The world map's huge. You gotta be innovative as crap to get around. You can't see anything. There's enemies and bosses everywhere. It's just chaos. And I didn't really find it that fun, to be honest. I found it more fun after I found all the light routes, and then I went back to some of the areas that I didn't fully explore as much, such as some of the Colosseums, for example. In the depths, there are some areas you can go to and fight these enemy gauntlets. One of them has a bunch of Lionels, and that one's kind of ridiculous. But as long as you cook, it doesn't matter. You can still beast the whole area because you can just keep eating and restoring your health. Even if you get gloom damage and you get your hearts removed, you can just eat some food and you're good to go. So suck it game. And if you want to, let's say, skip some of the depths, you can't really do it because it's basically required to progress the story, at least toward the beginning. You do have to do a little bit of the depths. They also have a side quest with the Yiga clan again, so you gotta fight Master Koga if you do that quest. And there's a whole secret dungeon down there that you have to do to complete the story after you do the first part of the main quest that requires the depths. And in order to recharge basically Link's batteries for the Zonai devices and increase the maximum capacity, you have to collect items within the depths to do that as well. So they definitely got some reasons for you to be down there, but it's just not a fun place to be in my opinion. Briefly covering the sky is basically just a series of islands where you start at one and you have to go really far and really high sometimes to reach one that's maybe at a different level of elevation, maybe really far away, and they're not connected like pretty much whatsoever, so getting from one to another is a huge pain. I actually felt like it was way harder finding ways to get to those damn sky islands than it was to do any of the stuff in the depths, because you could always reach stuff in the depths by foot. In the sky, you got to figure out some sort of way to get your devices to reach different things in the sky. And I can tell you right now, if you didn't do enough of the depths, you're just not going to reach the sky islands. I just don't see a way in which some of them are possible. For some of them, I had to use like a hot air balloon. And to use that, you got to have a lot of freaking battery power, or you just got to find a bunch of batteries and place them on your items. And batteries have weight to them, so it'll weigh you down. It's kind of complicated, but you just have to take my word for it. You pretty much got to do a little bit of everything if you're trying to make good progress in the game and complete it normally. On the mainland, Korok Seeds return, of course, fully equipped with an innovative yet annoying requirement to meet one Korok up with another, and then at least you do receive 2 seeds, since I guess technically it's 2 Koroks. But these quests get a little old. Like, you just kind of just repeat them. They're just all over the place, and you got to repeat them over and over again. Like, for example, there's a guy that's holding a sign, and he wants you to help him lift the sign up and don't let it fall over. And eventually, it just feels like, oh, this again. When you see it for like the 100th time, you just kind of just over it. And like I said, they're just all over the place. It just gets old really fast. And I kind of just feel like they probably should have, honestly, maybe not even had that as a thing to do in the game, because it just gets boring.
It's a lie.
No, it cannot be.
The game in general has way more quests than the previous game. So many that it felt like, even though I did like tons of them, I looked at the menus like, okay, let's see how much progress I made, and it looked like I made no progress because there were so many uncompleted quests. Eventually, I was just like, okay, I give up, because I was literally playing this game for like 2 or 3 weeks straight or something, and I was like, okay, that's enough, and I was playing like every day, so there's a lot of crap to do in this game for sure. I'm just gonna do a quick blow through of some of the things you can do. They're just random things you can do. You can explore caves, wells, you can cook again, you can find the memories, which I had mentioned earlier, fight all sorts of different types of enemies and mini bosses. You can find and ride horses, upgrade your horses, find new outfits, upgrade your outfits. There's some mini games, and there's so many freaking collectibles. There's like more collectibles in this game than even freaking Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, like freaking ukulele, more items in all of those games. You also got a whole new series of shrines to get into. Just like the last game, there are well over 100 shrines to enter, some of which are crazy as hell, bursting with innovation, while others you just walk in and literally just collect the Light of Blessing and just walk out of the shrine. It's like, huh? That was one of the biggest criticisms for the previous game. Like, oh, these shrines are too easy. Some of them just have combat in them, and you just kill one enemy and the shrine's over. But in this, we just walk in like, oh, thanks for the light shard, light blessing, whatever, and you're done. And that's like a decent amount of them. Like, I promise you, I can't remember how many, but it felt like it was way too many of them. So they did bring back combat shrines, but this time they're a lot better because they're usually some sort of theme. Like, they'll take away like all your armor, or you have to use projectiles only, bow and arrow only. You know, you have to destroy the enemies with the environment, destroy them with vehicles, like all sorts of stuff. So at least the combat shrines I think are pretty fun. I actually felt like they were pretty good, so I like those. I don't think that those should go away. I just think they just gotta keep putting the creativity into them, and then it's fine. But if you're looking for every shrine to be this godlike thing, then the combat's not really changed at all in terms of the mechanics. The one thing that does change it up a bit is the weapon fusing. So no longer are you completely at the mercy of what weapons you find, but it is still a combination of that along with the materials that you get for killing items or just found throughout the game world. It's a pretty good system that allows you to combine your weapons with bombs, all sorts of different elements, lightning, fire, ice, combine your weapons with rocks, fans, lasers. It's just all sorts of nonsense you can do in this game that it just makes it ridiculous. You can combine all that stuff with your swords, axes, shields, even your bow and arrow. So it does add like a decent amount of variety and just adds a level of like pure foolishness to the game. And some of the enemies can also combine their weapons with stuff too. So you gotta kind of be careful and hope that that doesn't happen. They combine it with something like really powerful. Otherwise they could just one-shot you. Most of the enemies are the same ones that they had previously, minus those enemies that were like, I don't know, those ancient octopus enemies that could pretty much kill you in like one hit in the previous game. Those are gone because they were, I guess, related to Calamity Ganon. Well, no, they were built, I guess, by the Sheikah, and then they were taken over by Calamity Ganon. Anyway, in this game, there's the Zanai, so those are new enemies. That, along with these Gloom Hands, which are pretty much like these insane enemies that can not one-shot you, but when they kind of get a hold of you, there's kind of like no stopping them. They just kind of just chain grab you over and over again. And I just feel like you just really can't get out of it unless you're just extremely overpowered, or I don't know, you have some sort of really broken strategy that I haven't figured out yet. But the only thing I figured out is just don't let them get to you in the first damn place. Just like shoot them with arrows, shoot them with bomb arrows, something explosive, highly damaging before they ever even get a chance. And then when you do that, they got a special surprise for your ass.
Got it there.
NANI?
You're dead, your friends are dead, your family's dead, your f***ing pets are being skinned alive, your mom's a f***ing
Oh no. It's a trap!
No one is safe.
Like in the previous games, there's 4 main areas to visit. So you got the Rito area, you got the Zoras, the Gorons, and the Gerudo, which yet again, the Gerudo area is probably the best place. That was my personal favorite. It also had the best dungeon. So this time, something even more terrible has befallen the land. So in addition to last time it being like the Divine Beast, I guess, going crazy or whatever the heck is going on in that game, now there's a bunch of other stuff that's going horribly wrong. One of the main differences is that you have to conquer dungeons rather than Divine Beasts. So though a lot of people did ask for this, I really wouldn't call it a big improvement over the Divine Beasts due to the fact that the main issues are still the same. So within the Divine Beast and within the dungeons, you have to go to specific areas. So let's say they mark 4 destinations on the map within the dungeon. You have to go to those 4 places. After you complete the task at said 4 places, then you move on to the dungeon boss, and boom, dungeon's over. So the old school progress that I liked was you would find an item, use that item to continue to progress, maybe see some places that you couldn't progress to before, and it just feels like you're just kind of like making progress, and Link is like actually getting stronger as you progress throughout the game and the dungeons. It's like your toolkit just keeps rising, getting greater and grander and crazier. That feeling is really missing. Like from this game, in this game you just kind of get like more hearts, more stamina, and it's literally the exact same formula. It feels like it's extremely formulaic, and they like struggled to break from that formula, or like they weren't allowed to break from that formula or something. I will say that the Gerudo Lightning Temple was probably the best one, and that one felt the most like a more traditional dungeon, which one of the reasons was because you get the mirror shield in that dungeon, and you can actually do all these kind of crazy light puzzles and stuff, like reflecting light and stuff. That was really cool. It reminds me of Ocarina of Time. Spirit Temple is one of my favorite temples in that game. So kind of tugging at that nostalgia a bit, along with being a really good dungeon in general. Whereas if you remember that freaking Goron dungeon with the carts, man, that dungeon was terrible. Never do that again. I mean, I don't know what to think. You only got 4 dungeons. At least, well, okay, 4 main dungeons. So you don't want to screw those up, and I kind of feel like they screwed that one up. But at least, like I said, the Gerudo dungeon was pretty good. And it was a solid experience. And even the one with the stupid cart thing wasn't terrible, but it kind of was terrible, it kind of wasn't. It was fun sometimes, but other times it just wasn't. So it's kind of mixed. But in general, I prefer more traditional dungeon experiences. So hopefully they go back to that in the next game. Another major improvement area is the bosses of the game. So the bosses are much better than they were in Breath of the Wild. Even though those bosses weren't bad, I do think that they felt repetitive. Like they definitely all at least looked the same. Like I'm pretty sure that they fought differently, but it definitely looked the same. And it made them feel like they were the same damn thing each time. So in this game, you don't have that problem. They all look the same, feel drastically different. So they definitely made sure that you weren't feeling any type of similarity between them. So they did great. They did a good job. Most of the bosses are pretty good. Some of them are a little on the easy side. I kind of feel like by the time you get to any of these bosses and get through the dungeons, all of the bosses should have been pretty tough. I feel like maybe they wanted to make sure that you could beat them if you went out of order, which is kind of another reason why I feel like, man, I don't want to see this formula again. Like, I just want to get that out of the way. I want to see an older school formula in the future, because I feel like the way that they do things here kind of screws some things up. Or maybe they should have said like, hey, difficulty in this area is going to be higher. You know, warning, warning. You go to this area, you might get your ass kicked. Whereas you go to this other area, it's going to be a little bit easier. Because it definitely seems as though they wanted you to be able to pick whichever area you wanted and not get stuck or struggle too hard and have to just quit and go to another area. But I feel like they should have made it where, nah, man, like, look, over in the Gerudo area, they gonna fold your ass. Like, you're not just gonna be able to just run up to a bunch of redeads and just win, you know? Like, you gotta be a try-hard to get you some strong armor or something, because it just felt like they went a little easy on some of the enemies and the bosses, even though I do think that the bosses were fun for the most part. There was a surprise dungeon in the depths. That was freaking awesome. I really didn't expect it. I thought I was just gonna go down there, discover some secret, maybe fight a boss, be on my way. But there was like a whole character, a whole another memory, a whole dungeon, like a whole like sequence where you're like riding in the Zonite body for Miniru, and a whole boss. It was like a lot. New shops, like there's a lot of stuff down there. I thought that was pretty nice. So they definitely had some surprises. Like there's so many like cool things about this game. Even though I'm complaining about some stuff, it's like hard to like take points away. It's like, well, they had a lot of like, for anything bad, they had like, for every one bad thing, they had like 10 awesome things. So, you know, take that for what you will. Everything about the final encounter with Ganondorf is better than the whole Calamity Ganon situation, which is always kind of questionable to begin with. In the quest I did, they never did really explain what the hell Calamity Ganon was even supposed to be in comparison to the real, actual Ganondorf. He just ends up overshadowing the evil, cloudy spirit Calamity Ganon, whatever the heck he was. He just overshadows him. The presence of a living, breathing person that you can interact with directly speaks to you in an intimidating fashion, literally towers above you, crazy red hair, you know, directly antagonizing and making fun of you and saying he's gonna ruin your life and pretty much kill everybody and make everybody's life miserable and bring darkness to the land. That just feels different. It feels like so much better and stronger and more intimidating than Calamity Ganon, which just feels like he was just like not there, almost like he was missing. Like you literally can't have any type of interaction whatsoever unless you go to the end of the game in Breath of the Wild. In Tears of the Kingdom, they got like this fake Zelda going around like the whole game, and it's obviously Ganondorf. And that presence alone leaves you feeling like a sense of mystery and a sense of ominousness, because you know, like, oh man, this evil person pretending to be Zelda, which is Ganondorf, is causing all this havoc. It feels more like a direct interaction. It feels more mysterious. It was better executed 100% than in the last game.
End this hero's life, my dark servant. Cut him down.
Dragon Ganon's also a cool fight, but needed a bit more refinement. Not gonna lie, as it is kind of a slow-paced fight. You have to fall all the way down and hit Ganon on all these like little things on his back as the dragon, and then you have to do it all over again. And if you miss the dragon, you gotta fall on top of Zelda and go back up again, and then fall again, and hope you don't miss again. And it's a little slow the way that they did it. I feel like maybe the dragons should have been like closer together, or I don't know, you still should have had your helpers helping you or something, because not being able to use Tulin's wind just made it harder to like land properly. If I'm like gliding, I'm like holding the things, I'm gliding, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gliding kind of slow. You know, I've been using Tulin's thing. Like I literally went to the Rito from the beginning for this reason. I'm like, Tulin, where are you? And they're missing at the end. So you just have to just do it on your own. You got to figure it out. And it was a cool fight. The music was incredible. I love the music in that the end. It's like relaxing, but yet ominous, yet ancient and mythical. They captured a lot. Whoever did the music for that final boss knew what the heck they were doing. They were good. But the fight, even though it was an epic fight, it was kind of lackluster in some ways. So it just wasn't perfect. That's all I'm pretty much saying. I think that they could have done better with that fight to make it a little bit more faster paced. The original fight with Ganondorf before he's in his dragon form is incredible, and I don't really think it needs any changes. But the dragon fight, I think they fell a little bit short on that. The spectacle was there, but certainly not the challenge and the pace of it. Last thing I'll mention before jumping into my final thoughts is that there are a couple mini games. There's like a cart mini game where you're like on a cart, you're shooting a bow and arrow at targets, and there's like a harder version of that. There's this game with the Goron where you have to hit a target above you like as hard as possible, and you have to use a bunch of items that are like predetermined to do it, which is pretty cool. But you can actually, pro tip, sneak some items in there to make it way easier, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to hit like the maximum like amount of, I don't know, PSI or whatever the heck he was trying to measure the amount of the hit with. There's also some weird find the item mini game, like you like bump into somebody, a bunch of items fly out and you have to help them gather them. And in addition, there is a mini game where you have to do horse racing. There's like a lot of stuff. I'm pretty sure that I'm leaving a bunch of stuff out. There's a lot of mini games in this game, and they're all pretty fun. So they did a lot with the game. It's a fun game. What can I say? So jumping into my final thoughts for the game. Was it good? Did I enjoy the game? Yes, of course I did, man. I mean, first off, I love Zelda, and even though I don't like every Zelda game, these games are good. But they are flawed. For anybody saying they're 10 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10 for you, not for me. So I guess a slight spoiler for the scores, not getting a 10. You know, there's a little too much detail, as I mentioned, to get into every single thing, because there's just so much to cover in the game. But I will summarize with how worthwhile the game is. Even though it's controversial, I did somewhat enjoy Breath of the Wild a little bit more, because it felt like a more tight-knit, concise experience compared to Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom felt like it was just jam-packed, like it just jammed a bunch of stuff into the game, and there's just so many just random things you can do. And for some people, maybe that means that it is therefore superior, but not to me. I felt like I didn't like having to go to the sky, go to the mainland, go to the depths, go back to the sky, go to the depths again, go to the mainland, you know, go to the opposite side of the mainland, like with no fast travel over there yet, right? Because you get fast travel and stuff later, but at first you don't have any of that. So You know, you just got to keep doing all of this stuff, and there's so many quests. You know, there's so many like, oh, go here, go there. Collect like a bajillion of these items. If you want to upgrade your armor, you need like a million bajillion of these types of particular stones that you only find in like this one place. And we're not going to tell you where that place is at. It's like so many like little things about the game that kind of just annoyed me sometimes. But there's a lot of stuff that I loved about the game. So it's not like the game wasn't good. It was excellent. I think it's a great game, great entry into the Zelda series. Just some things about it that frustrated me, maybe a little bit more than some of the more traditional games where I didn't really feel much frustration at all in some of them, you know, especially those classics on the N64. You know, Majora's Mask had pretty much a time thing, you know, it was extremely difficult, but for overall, I didn't really have many other problems with the game. I could hardly think of anything that I had an issue with, and Ocarina of Time, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much a perfect game. You know, you can tell me about maybe glitches being a problem, but I never even experienced any glitches when I played that game. So yeah, you have to like be a freaking speedrunner to even find most of them. If I had to pick a perfect experience in terms of these open world Zelda games, it would be if you take Breath of the Wild and you take Ganon from Tears of the Kingdom, you just rip him out of Tears of the Kingdom, you put him in, shove him into Breath of the Wild. That would be the ideal experience for me, because I feel like Breath of the Wild's overall gameplay, I think, was better. It was more concise and it just didn't take as long. Like doing all the building and all this stuff, it just takes like forever. Even with auto build, stuff still takes like, it just takes longer to do everything in Tears of the Kingdom. And I enjoy being able to just kind of just boom, 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 just move around a little bit faster and do stuff a little bit faster, get stuff done a little bit faster in Breath of the Wild. But the villain in that game, Calamity Ganon, sucked. The final boss in it sucked. So yeah, Breath of the Wild, better overall experience for me. Didn't have like 3 different maps. Like I like my one map in Underworld. If it's cool enough, I like it. But the Underworld, the depths, it wasn't working for me personally. And I do think that unfortunately, Tears of the Kingdom feels like a bit of a rehash. I know some folks have hated when people say that, because I've seen some comment threads where people have been saying similar things, but I actually have to agree with that sentiment. I do think that there is enough here to say that it's a sequel rather than like a DLC. Absolutely, because there's a lot of stuff that they added, all kinds of just a ridiculous amount of quests. It kind of went nuts with the quests. So many, it's like, can't believe there's so many that I have left to complete. But it really just feels like some things were done a little bit out of laziness. For example, Majora's Mask is a whole different map, right? And I know the excuse is going to be, well, Roshad, that was like, what, 20 plus years ago that those games came out. So of course, game development now is different. You don't have enough time to develop a whole new world map. Well, first off, not true that you don't have the time to do it, but is it harder to do and take more resources? Of course it's more difficult to do than it was in the past. But the fact of the matter is, Ocarina of Time map, Majora's Mask map, totally different. Basically, Majora's Mask was a sequel to Ocarina of Time, okay? Like, that was already pretty much confirmed, I believe, by the Aonuma, Miyamoto, like, I don't know, but I know that this has been stated, if not in those exact words, in very similar words, verbiage. So, now you have Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass. Even though Phantom Hourglass, to me, you know, sucked balls, it's still a totally different map than Wind Waker. Not the same game by any means. It's like a whole different place. Temple of the Ocean King, all this stuff is there. In Tears of the Kingdom, it's literally the exact same map. Everything's in the same place that it was before, except for the divine beasts aren't there. Now you got temples, and then you have the underworld, which doesn't have all that much in it, and the sky definitely doesn't have that much in it, because everything is like literally miles apart. There's a couple islands up there. Now when you get to some of the islands, they got some surprises waiting for you up there. Well, this quickly devolved into straight chaos. But there's not that much stuff up there to do. Okay, let's just keep it real. So I really feel like they could have totally removed the underground depths and the sky, and they could have just had it be like the mainland again, except new map. And I feel like that would have been much more enjoyable. I would have felt like there was much more mystery to go into these different places, whereas it felt so similar. Like I already knew what the Gerudo were gonna be like, the Rito, the Zora, the Gorons. Heck, we need maybe even some new races or something. Something we haven't seen before. You know, like a real Kokiri forest again. Like not these like weird Korok creatures, like actual Kokiri people like there were in Ocarina of Time. Have they ever done that again? I don't think they have. I think that's the only game where they actually had Kokiri. It was in Ocarina of Time. Somebody let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I'm gonna have to look that up because I'm curious now. Have Kokiri ever come back? It's like Kokiri, Koroks, they're like, I don't know, descendants or something. It's weird. Now there are some unique challenges in the sky. So even though I know I said, yeah, they could have took it out, they did add some unique stuff in there, but they still could have did it without having it like in the sky, like that damn high up in the sky. Like there is like this sky maze, or there's like a couple of them. It's like 3 of them, these giant sky mazes, and you have to go around there. You can't even like touch the ground in them. You have to first off find a way to get to the damn things, which is hard enough in of itself. Then when you get there, if you go too low, I'm pretty sure you just fall out the bottom of it or something. Like I haven't actually tried to see what happens if you let yourself fall down the bottom, but I'm pretty sure you can just fall right out of it. So I won't be experimenting with that. Somebody let me know how that goes. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. But again, I mean, that's kind of like a small thing. There's some nice additions to just add some optional content to the game. And they do give nice rewards when you complete some of these side things, especially all the stuff in the sky. I want to say most of the stuff in the sky is optional. So that's a cool addition. But again, it didn't really feel like it was worth executing on the game in the way they did, having the whole 3 world map thing. It just didn't feel like it was worth it. It didn't have the payoff that I feel like maybe they were looking for when they started and originated the idea. At least it didn't work out for me. So what's my overall score for the game? Real simple, 9 out of 10. So not a bad game at all. I mean, I couldn't really go any lower than that. I mean, there's so many damn good things about the game. There's all the mini games. The combat's fun, even though they haven't changed it that much. Combat's still fun. The exploration, for the most part, is good, even if it can be slow sometimes. They have all this fast travel, a lot of quality of life features with the map and quick travel. And you can literally see the path that you've walked on before to see exactly where you've been. It's easy to find the shrines again, just like last time, with the sound cues from the little beeping when you're close to shrines. Like new enemies. Ganondorf is badass. The music is incredible in the game. The art style is great, even though the graphics are old as hell. The art style is great. So the game's good. The game's good. If it wasn't for some of the stuff that I mentioned, the game would get a 10. You know, so I'm a little disappointed that they couldn't improve. I'm trying to think if they improved on anything that was actually criticized. I don't think so. They added dungeons, but not like in the way, not the stuff that people actually have problems with them not having dungeons. So they didn't really fix or address the problem. They're just like, boom, we just like removes divine beast skin, boom, just call it a temple, and like, boom, we're done. Dungeons. And I'm like, I don't think that's what people meant, Nintendo. I see what you did there, but that's not what people meant. So yeah, I mean, again, not a bad game, but very good game, as a matter of fact. Just need something different now. I really sincerely hope that they go back a little bit more to roots and find a way to kind of, if you're going to reinvent Zelda, because I know that's what they like to do with the big 3D games, do something original, combine your best ideas, take all these great ideas, make an ultimate Zelda package that's more ultimate than even what we have here, because I'm sure they could do it. It says Nintendo we're talking about. They always find a way. And if you don't want to go back to the old school style, I mean, maybe, I don't know, keep doing remasters or something for other games. Let this one go to rest. You know, I feel like we're complete with the whole Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, We don't need to make it a trilogy, okay? I don't want to see this map again, okay? Like, don't bring back the same map a third time, Nintendo. We're done with this. Do a DLC if you want to, but please don't. Let's not do this. But it was a great experience for what it was. I just want to see something different going forward. Bring me back my hook shot, and I'll shut up. I mean, not really. I'm not gonna shut up, but I will probably complain less. I love the hook shot. It's like one of the favorite items. And there's obviously not really much need to have it in a game like this, but you know, I would love to have it anyway. Obviously, you could still put it in the game if you really wanted to. It just doesn't serve as much utility, obviously. But I definitely feel like I love items like that. I'm pretty sure everybody. I feel like if you had to rank items, hookshot would probably be #1. Okay, like it's like up there with freaking bow and arrow. Like you got to have the hookshot in there. It's just a fun item. So there you have it. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review, finally complete. Took me ages, but it is done. Man of my word. Anyway, y'all, look, if you made it to the end, actually, I think I mentioned that I was gonna share something with y'all. So, the reason why this review took so long, I mean, you probably could tell if you like watch the channel, because I was playing Street Fighter. I mean, if you saw the post I had, mentioned I got master in the game. That's one reason. There's like a bunch of reasons, but one of the reasons because I was like playing Street Fighter like a lot. I just got caught up in it, so sorry for y'all waiting for my content. Like, man, I'm unsubscribed, but you post no content. Look, doing the best I can. But besides that, also, I work a full-time job, and the job had me like travel out of town like twice in like a month for like a week, like a week straight, and you know, I'm not well equipped to be doing like, especially this type of video, like long form, you know, scripted type of video, like from out of town, and they have me doing stuff like after work. So it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, and I obviously get more money from that than I do from YouTube. So otherwise, I'll be doing YouTube. I mean, whatever makes me more money is what I'll be doing. So anyway, I'll look. That's that. So obviously, if anybody wants to play Street Fighter, you know, you're pretty good. Let me know. I mean, if you're maybe not so good, you know, maybe not the greatest idea, but I'll still play with you if you really want to. Anyway, I'll look. Off topic. If you enjoy the content, you already know what to do. Thumbs up. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit the notification bell as well, because I think even if you select like notify me for all, because you have to like, there's like 2 options for the bell: notify me and notify me for all. It's like notify me for some and notify me for all. Even if you select all, it still doesn't notify you. I've tested it. It does not notify you for every single thing, no matter what you do, unless you like set up something on your own. But their system does that on purpose because they want you to watch other stuff sometimes that they think might make them more money. YouTube, that is. So is what it is. But anyway, y'all, look, I don't know what to do. Follow me on Twitter if you got a Twitter account. Twitter.com/RoshadLamar. I appreciate y'all watching as always. We out. Catch y'all next time. Be easy. Peace.